We're looking at some more of these videos. Oh wait, pause. But 10,000 mealworms versus watermelon. Let's see who will win.
Mealworms, and they're known for their ability to eat almost anything. But what if you put 10,000 mealworms on a whole watermelon? How quickly would they completely eat it and turn it to mush despite its massive size?
Yeah, I don't know, so that's why I bought 10,000 mealworms.
Yeah, this is the most nastiest thing I've ever done, but it'll also be one of the most satisfying things I'll ever do on the channel.
Okay, well, I got the watermelon,
watermelon
right here,
win?
but
yeah.
Actually, first, just kind of want to put this piece of bread in here to see how quickly these mealworms will start to devour it.
So yeah, I put the bread inside, and as you could probably imagine, the mealworms wasted no time to...
What if you put your hand in there? Like, if you put your hand in there and just leave it there, would they start eating your hand? I don't know. What's up, kitten? Because the water in the watermelon? We'll see, actually. Actually, that is true, because watermelon's like 90... Is it not 95% water? Nothing? You don't think anything is going to happen? We'll see.
Start swarming this thing, and of course, they then started to consume it. If you pay attention to right here in specific, you can see how they just devour a massive hole right through the center of the bread. If they're doing this to the tiny piece of bread, imagine what they do to the whole watermelon. Anyways, literally after only 4 hours, this bread was hollowed out with mealworms and just had holes all over it. But this is literally nothing compared to the other time lapses I'll be showing off in the video. I have tons of stuff planned, ending with the final 10,000 mealworms versus the whole watermelon. But don't think the stuff before is boring, because we're gonna be starting with leeches.
Yep, you heard that right. For the first time lapse I'll be recording, I went and bought 5 big leeches.
Yup, leeches usually live in the wild and grab onto unsuspecting prey to basically just suck the blood out of them. Well, since I have 5 of these leeches and they're in captivity, it's gonna allow me to get some insane time-lapse footage of them sucking the life out of a food object as the leeches get bigger. It should be pretty cool. And if you watch my video about keeping pet leeches, you know they basically like to spend all their time under the water, so that's why I'll be setting up an aquarium for this test.
And then quickly, I'm just gonna fill up this tank with this, so I can go ahead and put the leeches inside, so we can get this test started.
So yeah, I put each of these 5 leeches inside, and I put a lid on top so they didn't escape. And immediately, you can kind of just see how they all just start swimming around under the water, just sort of like how snakes do. Yeah, it's kind of weird, honestly, but once they want to stop swimming, they'll go up to the glass and just grab onto it using the end of their bodies basically as a suction cup. It's actually pretty cool. Anyways, for the food I'll be feeding these guys, it's this piece of beef liver.
Well, all right, why don't we just drop this slimy nastiness into here and see how long it takes for these leeches to get absolutely massive.
And so step 1 was to actually get the leeches to bite onto this piece of meat, which is pretty easy. You basically just pick up the piece of meat with tweezers and start bringing it up to the leeches' faces until they grab onto it. So yeah, I just went around and picked up all the leeches onto the meats. But if you couldn't tell, the water quality got super bad because of the beef liver, so I decided to actually let the leeches eat the beef liver out of the water, since in the wild, that's actually how they prefer to feast. And while a couple of the leeches kind of detached from the piece of meat and started to run away, 3 of the leeches actually did stay on it, so I could watch as they started to eat. You can literally see them contract their throats in and out as they basically use their teeth to grind the meat up, and then they suck it up like a smoothie up into their bodies. But things actually did not go to plan, because out of nowhere, this leech decided to detach from the piece of meat, and then he just started to slither away randomly. Then the other 2 leeches decided to detach too, and this guy decided to just burrow into the piece of meat, and this one just slithered away. Hey, at least we got to watch him eat for a little bit, but this is why I love time lapses. You just capture random interesting stuff like this. But even these leeches are nowhere near as interesting as the time lapse coming up later, because the time lapses get cooler as the video progresses. So that's why for our second time lapse, we're going to be recording flesh-eating beetles.
Yes, you heard that right. Flesh-eating beetles. And they're called that because they're beetles that eat flesh. And well, let me show you why that is so cool.
Now, as you can see, there's some actual flesh-eating beetles in here, but most of the things in here are still in their larva stage, which means they're actually even more hungry than usual. And you see, these insects are cool because they can literally just eat the flesh off of animals to the point where they only...
Nah, I would never. I don't even care, nigga. Why? I would never bring that to my house. I'll do this outside somewhere.
Leave the skeleton bones behind. So yeah, I'm gonna try and record a time lapse of that.
And I've got thousands of flesh-eating beetles in here to the point if I put my finger in there, it would probably turn into a skeleton.
BTG insect tasting stream. Are you gonna buy all of them? I was thinking like we do something and the loser or the losing team or losing player has to eat insects. That would be nice. That would be fire. That would be fire to do.
Actually, you know what? I wonder what would happen if I put a piece of dog food in there. Hey, I guess let me get a quick time lapse real quick.
So I put the dog food in, and oh guys, all I'll say is things are about to get interesting with these beetles. But as you could probably imagine, buying all these crazy bugs and worms is extremely expensive, and I've been needing to manage a lot of money. So that's why I'm glad today spawned me. Worms will
You're not slick, buddy.
on the screen. Beetles. And if If you're wondering, it didn't take them very long for them to start swarming this piece of dog food. You see, these are dog treats that I buy for my dog Jet, and they're made out of the top quality real beef ingredients, which of course Jet loves. But that also explains why these flesh-eating beetle larvae were also loving it. Anyways, it was pretty crazy how after just a few of these beetles latched onto the dog food, pretty much all of the beetles soon followed behind until literally this piece of dog food was literally like just not a piece of dog food anymore. This is just a living piece of flesh-eating beetle at this point. Yeah, there's just so many on here.
Oh my gosh, bro, what?
Swallowed.
These guys are so hungry.
So yeah, shook them all off, because if you remember, the main reason I got these beetles is because I actually want to see if they could turn an animal into a skeleton by just eating its flesh. And I don't want them to get filled up on this, but anyways, considering this piece of dog food was only in there for like 10 minutes, the beetles made a pretty decent amount of progress by chewing a bunch of tiny little chunks out of it.
Anyways, for the main course I'm feeding these guys, I've got a duck head. Yeah, and we're gonna see if they can turn it into a white duck skull. But yeah, don't worry guys, I didn't do this to the duck.
Do you think they're gonna do it?
Store. Apparently they're dog food. Jack, can you give this a taste test? You think the flesh-eating beetles, you think they're gonna like it? Yeah, he's licking it. I think he likes it.
So since it passes the Jet taste test, I wasted no time to put this into our tank. Let's see what they do. Now, immediately things were pretty interesting because many of the beetles, of course, were drawn to this nasty duck head, and pretty much all of the beetles started to gather at the base of the head. These guys were all slowly chewing away at the fur of this duck head, and it was cool because you could gradually see the group of flesh-eating beetles move up along the side of the duck head, and they were even eating it so much that they ended up knocking it over. Eventually, it was so nasty because the beetles had just completely swarmed the head and were crawling in and out different parts of it, like the hole in the beak. And after leaving this in here for a full 24 hours, you could just see how much they chewed through all the fur and just how nasty this is. But the real damage was done on the bottom of the skull, where it was completely chewed through. These are the literal bones of the duck skull, and this is just straight up so disgusting. This looks like a zombie.
How does this guy get these ideas?
Oh my gosh, this smells so bad. You guys
He's creative, man.
Hey, check this out. I'm actually kind of surprised this didn't just like turn a completely white skull kind of color, because I know these beetles sometimes do that, but I guess it makes sense. This is just kind of dog food, but I would call it a success. I mean, look at how destroyed this thing is.
Now, imagine you putting your hand in there. And then, oh, no. You get all types of diseases. I forgot.
Anyway, so these guys will definitely make a very interesting addition to my pet collection.
Alrighty, we're almost at the final 10,000 mealworms.
Bro said pet collection.
But quickly, I'm excited to show you guys time-lapse number 3, which is an alien creature digging.
Yep, you know how some people set up their ant colonies in 2D ant nests to get footage of them digging out those tunnels along the glass?
I'll be watching
this
them.
alien creature is actually able to do the same exact thing. Let me show you how.
Yeah, so this thing's called a vinegaroon, and it's the same one from a few videos ago on...
What the fuck is that, bro? That's like a lobster and a scorpion combined. I'm jumping in there and feeding on that duck head with them. Nah, that's just you, bro.
My channel. But you see, I call them an alien because I mean, just look at them. They look extremely weird, and they have these claws at the front of their body that actually allow them to dig.
Yep, and for this guy, as you can see, I filled this tank
You know what just reminded me? I remember I seen a post. It was like some like flying. It's like a flying, what you call a wasp, but it's like a scorpion as well. And when I seen that, I said, if this shit touches this island, bro, like we're finished, bro. What do you mean there's a flying scorpion, like a wasp type scorpion?
With a bunch of clay. But if you look, I actually left a hole on the side of the glass empty. That way, when I go and fill this place up with dirt, the vinegaroon won't be able to make a hole anywhere in this dirt other than that hole I made in the clay right on the side of the glass there.
Now, anyways, after getting the dirt in, I wasted no time to put the vinegaroon inside. Now, immediately, this alien creature wasn't exactly super interested in digging. He was kind of just trying to climb out. But you see, that's because there's actually a few things I have to set up in here to make this guy want to dig quickly. First of all, I put this water dish in here, and then I started to use my finger to dig out a little tunnel under the water dish. Now, when the vinegaroon comes over here, he'll find the little entrance to the burrow I made, and when he's ready to dig, he'll know where to start. So guys, I just went and set up my time-lapse camera in another room so we could observe what these creatures do when no one's watching. And yeah, during the first few hours, since it was technically still day, you can see he was very active amongst the top section, still trying to escape. But the second it hit nighttime, this dude went down to the burrow section and he started to dig up like a straight up drill. Nah, let's see that on an instant replay. That's actually pretty cool. You can literally see
drilling in that mud,
bro. Grow as the vinegaroon digs out all the dirt from the tunnel. I think this is some of the clearest footage ever caught of these creatures digging. It's pretty cool to watch.
Well, dang, now that this guy dug this tunnel, you're probably wondering why they actually make these tunnels. Well, they actually make them to hunt. And well, I got a cricket right in here. Let's drop this thing in.
So after I dropped the cricket in, he started to walk around the top area. But little did he know, the vinegaroon was right under his feet, waiting in the burrow for food to walk in. And a little bit later, the cricket did just that. He started squeezing through the opening that was dug out the night before, and he went in deep enough to where the vinegaroon was sitting. I know it got super foggy in here when I brought it to my recording area, so it's kind of hard to...
Nigga, that's like you sneaking in a tunnel, and then you walk in and see Sukuna, bro. Like, oh my God, bless the cricket, bro.
See, but the vinegaroon started to attack the cricket, and he started to chase him out the
Oh,
burrow.
hell
The
no.
cricket tried to escape, but it was no use because the claws of the vinegaroon are just too strong. And I know you guys can't really see it well in this
GG,
footage,
bro.
but I can assure you the cricket is no longer with us, to put it lightly. Dang, that was cool. But I'm gonna go and move this guy back to his original enclosure I built in the original video. Well, guys, it's finally time to do our final
right,
time
let's
lapses
see.
with the 10,000 mealworms.
Okay, I'm not gonna waste any
This is
time,
gonna be so
and I'm gonna
nasty,
record some
bro.
stuff right away. But before we do the watermelon, I actually want to start with something a lot more
Nigga.
interesting. This thing.
Yeah, this is literally a piece of styrofoam. And you're probably wondering right now, what the heck, Terra Green, why are you feeding this to the worms? Well, it's because mealworms have an absolutely insane special ability, and it's actually that they can somehow digest styrofoam. Yeah, talk about the lamest special ability ever, but I just had to get time up showing this off, and immediately, these dudes start to completely climb all over the styrofoam, completely covering it. I don't know why mealworms are one of the only animals that can eat styrofoam. It's honestly kind of weird, and the craziest part about this time lapse is if you look right down here, you can literally see the moment when the mealworms decided to start chewing a massive hole through the side of the styrofoam, so they can literally crawl inside to eat more. It's super cool. And anyways, after leaving the styrofoam in here all night, I shook off all the mealworms so we could see the damage that was done, and holy, look at this thing. First of all, that hole the mealworms shoot through the side is nasty, and it's still filled to the brim with worms. Ugh. Then just this whole top part has bite marks all over it, and this thing is probably hollowed out and just filled with worms. Nah. And yeah,
Open it
wondering
up.
about the other pieces of styrofoam, basically the exact same thing happened to them, and they got obliterated. It's safe to say these mealworms are hungry.
Now, I think it's about time we get out the watermelon so we can do the final time lapse. And I got a knife here so I can go and cut this thing up so we can reveal the nice juicy red part.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did, and I just put the watermelon straight into this tank so we could get this test started right away. Now, you already know the mealworms started to, of course, climb all over the watermelons right away. Mealworms love watermelons because, of course, they're super sugary and sweet, but they're also made out of 92% water, meaning the mealworms can just get super hydrated. Now, it's so crazy because you can see how
yeah,
nice and
they're
bright red this
cooked.
watermelon
Troy,
is now.
you're
Well, it
wrong,
only took
bro.
a couple hours until that bright red completely started to fade as thousands of mealworms started to climb all over the watermelon, nibbling tiny little pieces out of
Holy
it.
crap.
This all happened in the time span of only 12 hours. Yeah, I literally just left this over.
They did. I sucked the
Okay,
soul
just
out of
checked
that
on this for the
watermelon,
first
bro.
time since waking up, and first of all, this smells absolutely disgusting. But look at this. This was a bright red color like 10 hours ago, but it's like completely rotting because of what these mealworms are doing to it. This is nasty, and they're making all these tiny little holes in it. Nah.
Anyways, I moved the tank to the floor to continue the rest of the time lapse. But as you can see in this footage, as I continued recording, the mealworms weren't nearly as interested in the watermelon. Pretty much none of them were even eating it anymore. I mean, it does look pretty rotten, to be honest, so I guess it would make sense to why they don't want to eat it. But yeah, I decided to just stop the time lapse since they weren't eating it anymore, and I came back 24 hours later so I could see the full results of what the watermelon looked like.
That's
What
just
the heck?
killed
This
all
is
these
so
creatures,
nasty.
man.
Is that mold
Deadass.
growing on the watermelons? Oh my gosh.
But actually, to my surprise, when I took a look under the watermelons, there was massive holes chewed through the green shell part. And like this watermelon here had so much chewed
Oh
through this
my
part.
God, that's
so yeah,
so
I guess the
disgusting,
mealworms
bro.
really were eating the watermelon, but I guess it just wasn't showing up on the time lapse because it was happening under where we could see it. Dang, that's actually insane that they could eat so much.
Anyways, hopefully you guys learned something new or were entertained by the time lapses I showed you in this video. And about these 10,000 mealworms, well, I'm gonna have to
Bro needs to burn
see
that.
if I can get these donated to a
Also, this YouTuber gonna be put on the list. I don't know what kind of experience he be doing off cam. I don't even know what he be doing. But that is funny.